take a stick, theoretically, divide it up into two.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
And divide that up into, the stick is 12 inches, right?
Okay.
Yeah, now we have 2 sticks of 6 inches.
Yeah.
And again, you have 4 sticks of 3 inches, right?
Yeah.
How many times can you divide up that stick?
A lot of times, probably.
How many times? What's the maximum?
Physically?
Not physically, let's say in theory. Say in theory.
12 times, yeah.
No, more. You could divide,
100,
keep dividing.
100, yeah.
Keep going.
1,000.
More.
1,000,000.
How more? How many points can you divide up this stick into? How many points equal a stick? If you keep going, how many points can you divide up? How many times can you chop this stick?
Well, as many as there are atoms in the stick, yeah.
And you can divide up atoms too. Forget about that part. I'm not talking about a stick in specifically. I'm talking about, let's say, a measurement of space. How many times can you divide up the measurement of space?
Right, infinite, yeah.
Infinite, okay. So 12 inches consists of an infinite amount of points, right?
Okay.
Take a football field of 100 yards.
Okay.
Do the same thing. Now divide it up into 50 yards, two fields of 50 yards, and then 4 fields of 25 yards. How many points can you divide up that field into?
Infinite.
Infinite. So you can have, so if a 12-inch stick can be divided up into an infinite amount of points, and a football field can be divided up into an infinite amount of points. If you have an infinite amount of points side by side, is it the length of a 12-inch stick or a football field?
Wait, sorry, say that the first part again?
If you can divide up, if a 12-inch space consists of an infinite amount of points.
Infinite amount of points. But the thing is, well, I can answer the question. So the infinite amount of points, they don't have the same size.
But divide them up. Keep dividing them. Keep dividing the points. But infinite amount of points, no matter what the size, is still an infinite amount of points. It's still infinity.
The size matters. So if you have a stick this long, how long? So I have a stick this long. Is an infinite amount of points. True. How long is that infinite amount of points? It goes point times infinity to here, and then
how
it gets
big is
smaller,
each point?
Infinitely smaller and smaller and smaller.
But how big is after you're done? How big is the point?
It's to the amount that the stick is. If you break up a stick
how?
Let me ask you a question. If I have a stick of 12 inches, and I have a razor sharp sword, it's the sharpest sword in the universe, and I break that stick up into 2,000 trillion pieces, how long is the 12-inch stick? It's still 12 inches.
Yeah, because you don't have an infinite amount of pieces. You can start chopping those.
So
100
trillion. Billion, trillion, quadrillion.
Keep going.
You'd have.
Keep going.
You'd
keep
still
going.
It'd be this long.
But you said infinity. So
right.
But if
it'd be infinitesimally small.
But that's the question.
It'd be infinitesimally small. But I have the answer.
But no. But the 100-yard football field is also infinitesimally small pieces. An infinite amount of infinitesimally small pieces. You can chop both of them into, can you not? And if so, they should be the same size. Why? It's an infinitesimally small. It's a trick question, of course.
It's not. No. It's not a trick question. It's an easy question. I just explained it.
No, because question. The denominator and the numerator are the same. Infinite over infinite. There's an infinite. Not that it's a times. It's an infinitely small amount, infinitely large amount of an infinitely small pieces.
Yeah.
Correct. Both of them are an infinitely large amount of an infinitely small pieces. You have the same equation.
I'll let you make your point because I know this is just a step towards your point. So I want to just grant you this and let you. I don't want to hold you up, here like a
next
like a
one. I'll
illustrate it. So let me I'll just grant you this.
I'll illustrate it a different way.
The final
Hilbert's Hotel.
Yeah.
You have a hotel with an infinite amount of rooms, and they're fully occupied.
Yeah.
Guy comes into the hotel. I want a room.
Yeah.
It's fully occupied. So I have no problem.
Yeah.
Take the guy in room. You have an infinite amount of rooms. Take the guy in room 1, put him in room 2. Room 2, put him in room 3, because you can always add to something. And I'll go in room 1.
Yeah. And
people can continuously do that. So you can have a fully occupied, infinite room hotel where an infinite amount of people can come. So what does it mean that it's fully occupied?
I don't. What your question? It means it's occupied.
The question is, if it's fully occupied, how could you add somebody into the hotel?
Because the notion of fully occupied exists inside of like the time and space dimension that we.
No, infinite. Infinite. That's the amount of rooms, and that's the amount of people. Infinite amount of rooms and infinite amount of people.
Right.
So that's fully occupied. Every room has a person.
Yeah, I'd say you can't add a person to that.
But you can, because infinity plus 1 equals infinity. You can always add 1.
But that plus 1 has a person in it. You said it's
You put that person in the next room, and you do it infinite amount of times.
Because each infinite room has a person in it.
But you can infinitely add. You can infinitely
and every time
switch
you add
rooms.
someone, there's someone.
Infinitely do it. But room 1 will still be room 1.
Anyway, I ultimately want to grade this and
the answer is that infinity, you cannot ever chop up neither 12 inches nor a football field into infinity.
I promise to move on from the stick one, but I want to say one final thing. So if I have a stick 12 inches long, and I can cut it up into the amount of for however many inches there are between here and the end of the galaxy, to and from 10 billion times. That's how small I can cut that stick up. How long is the stick? No. It's exactly this long.
What if you cut them again?
Then it will still be slug. You'll have smaller pieces.
And if you have at the end, you will have an. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I am going to be wrong. But correct me. Tell me why I'm wrong. You have an infinitely small amount, an infinitely small pieces times an infinitely large quantity.
So look, I think your point is that the universe is infinite, and that's amazing.
No, that's not my point, and that's not amazing.
Infinity is amazing.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
You've been talking to the wrong people about God. You really have.
But I don't understand.
No, you're like, this is it. So hold up. Okay. The answer is that you cannot. You've been talking to people about.
I haven't been talking to
anyone. No, whatever. You just told me people have been telling you. So
what happened is, so I'll tell you. So
infinite is amazing.
So 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I went to yeshiva, and those are the people that talked to me about God. I didn't talk to anything about.
Okay, whatever.
But let's go to your definition.
So
of,
listen,
I asked you.
Listen, I know. So we're getting there.
How do you know God wrote the Torah?
So hold on. Okay. The answer to all of these things is that you cannot chop that 12-inch stick nor the 100-yard football field into an infinite amount of pieces. You cannot do that. You can continue chopping and chopping continuously, and you will never reach infinity. You will never have an infinite amount of pieces, no matter how long you chop. You can chop forever, but you will never reach infinity. The lesson, the moral of the story is actual infinity in real life does not exist, because no matter how many things you have, you can always add a number and add one and add one. And that's why you cannot fill up a hotel with an infinite amount of people. It cannot have an infinite amount of rooms, and sticks and football fields cannot be divided into an infinite amount of pieces ever. It'll just keep going now.
Okay, so let me just let's just say I grant all that. Infinity is amazing and we can't fathom it.
Has nothing to do with, did I say that? I didn't say it's amazing, and I said we can't fathom it.
We can't fathom it.
I didn't say that.
I'm saying it.
But that's not what I said. You said I'll grant you the point. That's not my point.
So what's the point?
So listen, the point is that you cannot have an actual infinity in the physical world.
Why not? Because you can't imagine it?
No, because no matter how many things, can you have an infinite amount of, you cannot have an infinite amount of jelly beans in a big bowl.
You're right. It's not a rational thing, right? It's not a You can't have an infinite number of jelly beans in the bowl. Yes.
And you cannot have an infinite amount of sticks or chops or points.
I disagree on that, but we'll leave that because I explain why.
You didn't explain why. You didn't explain why. You said.
I don't think it's important to the bigger point. I
don't know what the bigger point is. Well, you got to give me a chance. You tell me I explain to the bigger point. If you cannot have an infinite amount of jelly beans in a bowl,
yes, I agree.
Why?
Because if the glass is only this big.
No, what if it's bigger? What's infinitely big?
So you're saying infinity doesn't exist?
Not in the real world.
What's the real world?
You cannot have reached infinity already.
Right. We as humans can't reach infinity.
Not as humans. Numbers can never reach infinity. By adding one to whatever quantity you have, you can never reach infinity. Yeah. You could never reach. You can always add another. You can never say, okay.
Infinity is a notion, not a quantifiable number. Yeah.
Okay, it's mathematically usable, but it's not a quantified number. Okay, which means that no matter how many times you cut that stick, you will never have reached an infinite amount of cuts.
Right.
So that's why the football field will never become an infinite amount of points because it's not really an infinite amount of points. You can keep chopping those points in half, in half, in half, in half forever, and it will never equal infinity.
Yeah.
Okay? Infinity can never be reached by adding 1 plus 1 plus 1 and 1 after 1. Now.
Can never get. I am with you. We cannot realistically reach infinity. I'm with you.
Got it. Now. Next thing. You know what they say? They say in the name of Albert Einstein, but all evidence it wasn't really he that said it, that the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing twice and have different results.
Yeah.
Okay. The logic behind that, and it is definitely true, is that every effect has a cause. Everything that happens for a reason. Even accidents happen for a reason. Nothing happens without a cause.
Okay.
Important.
Well, like a physical cause, yeah. When you say reason, do you mean a divine reason or do you mean a physical reason? Everything has a physical reason. We live in a physical world. Everything has a physical reason. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be physical or not physical, but it has to be a cause.
Well, I can't
I
agree
can't
to that.
escape. I can't escape the impression that you're already thinking of what the end game over here is going to be.
No, I'm trying to address the specific
Has nothing
premise.
to do with divine.
Fine.
The premise is that
that
if you have the same cause, you're going to have the same effect.
That's general. Look, I agree that we live in a physical world. Everything has a cause, right? There's a physical cause. Like
You cannot
chemical
have,
physical
nothing
cause.
can happen without a cause.
Sure, yeah.
Nothing happens without a cause.
Right.
Okay. So you having the laptop over there on your lap happened for a cause.
Sure.
And that cause also had a cause. And that cause also had a cause.
Yeah.
All the way back in time.
Sure, yeah.
Question. The amount of causes, and we're talking about your parents getting married, and all of this has to do with this laptop being over here, right?
Yeah.
We can go back in time with so many causes. The amount of causes that have already elapsed today, that will go back in time, for all the things that happened, are they infinite or finite?
The infinite or finite? Either.
You could say
Are they
either, and then we
infinite
can
or
discuss
finite?
it.
I think you can. It's like the stick, right? So the stick. How many pieces is the stick in?
You'll never reach infinity.
Well, hold on. So let's say I take a stick, 12 inches, break it in half, and you say how many pieces. I could answer you two different ways. I could say there's a finite number of pieces. There's two. 1, 2. I can say simultaneously there is an infinite number of pieces because each side I can break in half. I could, theoretically break in half again. There's atoms that are comprised of elements.
But you agree that you will never be able to actually reach that infinity by continuously cutting, because you can't reach it. One cut and another cut and another cut and another. By doing it that way, you will never, by adding one to another,
if you say
you
how
will
many,
never reach infinity.
If you say how many,
that's fine.
If you say how many things am I wearing, you could say, well, pants, shirt, jacket, 3 things, or you can say.
But if you count them,
if you break up every.
But if you count them, you will never be able to count an infinite amount of things on you because you can't reach infinity. So if you all the causes from all the way back till today, which have ended over there with your laptop.
Yeah.
Are they infinite or finite?
I could answer that either way. I could give you either answer.
But one happened that caused the other, that caused the other, that caused the other.
Things are packaged together.
That's fine. Let's say they're packaged together.
Depends how you want to categorize it. I could give you either answer, and I did.
But you tell me the infinity.
I think colloquially and pragmatically, it makes more sense to think of it in finite terms. But I could answer
mathematically. Is it possible to have reached already, to have had happen, already an infinite amount of anything? We said you can't count to infinity. You can't actually reach infinity.
I don't know. Let me go with I don't know. Yeah.
We won't. The quantity that has already happened of causes in the past to today
is infinite.
Can't be infinite. Okay. You understand why?
No, but let's go.
No, it can't be infinite because if you do understand that you can't reach infinity, like if you would count all of those
depends
causes,
what you consider a cause. If you would divide each, you could.
Doesn't matter. If whatever you want to consider a cause, if you count all those causes, will you reach infinity? count
No,
them.
no.
Okay, so you can't. So in other words, by each one of those causes, if you put a check mark,
Yeah.
you would never have an infinite amount of check marks.
Right.
That means you can't have an infinite amount of causes, no matter what.
Right, right.
Why? If you can continue in the future, and you will still never reach an infinite amount of causes.
Okay.
Okay. If that's true, what was the first cause? If it was not an infinite, that means it's finite. If it's finite, that means there was a first cause. Tell me about that first cause. Nothing caused it. That's very strange. But mathematically, that has to be the case. There has to be a first cause.
Yeah.
Now, something that's not caused, but caused something else. How do we understand that?
So it's God.
Well, not it's God.
I grant you God.
Don't-
I'm asking
no.
how's the Torah written by God? I'm getting ahead of us. Okay.
You're really getting ahead of us,
Yeah.
okay? You're really getting ahead of us. This first cause, what do we know about it?
The Big Bang.
That nothing, the Big Bang. Well, was the Big Bang, was it caused or not caused? If it was caused, what caused it? And if it wasn't caused, why did it happen?
No, I don't know if I have the ability, if we have the ability to understand time.
Forget
how
about
time exists
understanding.
before
We have the
Big Bang.
ability to understand that it's impossible to reach an infinite succession of things.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's impossible to reach an infinite succession of causes. Therefore, we understand that the amount of causes that happened in the world were finite. That means mathematically there was a first cause.
Okay.
Now the question is, about this cause, it was not caused by anything. So it could not have popped into existence, because if it had a cause, then it's not the first cause. So it couldn't, time isn't its cause, so it has to be outside of time. Space couldn't cause it, so it has to be outside of time, outside of space. Nothing could have caused it. That means there's no reason. It means that there's nothing that makes it exist. Now that's a very strange concept, because everything in the world has some characteristics, attributes. It has depth, it has breadth, it has dimensions, but that would be a cause. You know, I'll show you what I mean. See, anything that is a certain way has a reason, has a cause, a reason why it's this way and not a different way. The reason why you have black hair and not blonde hair is there's a reason for that, right? Okay. Think in your mind of something that just pops into existence without a cause. Go ahead.
I can't.
Anything. Just imagine something popping into existence without a cause.
I can't. Yeah.
You can't? Imagine a cow, boom, popping into existence.
Oh, you're saying like in
Imagine,
the
right.
world. Okay. In my imagination.
Imagine it, yeah.
I thought you were saying like imagine there being a case in which in the world
Yes.
something pops in. You're saying no, just imagine.
Imagine it.
Okay.
Okay, what did you imagine popping into existence?
You mentioned the cow, so that's what I did.
Okay. How many legs does that cow have?
4.
Why 4 and not 5?
Why?
Because you designed it that way. You decided that cow should have 4 legs and not 5. You decided it should be a cow and not a house. You decided it should be, say, brown and not black, whatever. So you can't even imagine something popping into existence without a cause, because you would have to design that thing.
Okay.
So something that's uncaused would have to have, can't be physical, would have no attributes. Because anything that it has, you could say, why is it like this and not like that? So it's not any particular way, because you could always ask, why is it this way and not that way? So it has to be something that doesn't have any attributes such that you could ask, well, why is it not a different way? Obviously, it's beyond our ken. And anything that, and the reason is because we've only experienced the cause and effect world, and anything beyond our ken we can't imagine. Mathematically speaking, one of two things have to be true. Either space ends or it doesn't end. Either way, we can't conceptualize that. Because if it doesn't end, again, that becomes infinite. That doesn't make sense to us. And if it does end, what's after space? There's nothing. Right? So the fact that we can't conceptualize anything doesn't mean it can't be. And we cannot, just like we live in a cause and effect world, we cannot conceptualize something that we never lived in. Because we live in a cause and effect world, we cannot conceptualize the first cause. It's above time, it's above space, it's not bound to time, not bound to space. Yet, it caused something. It caused everything else, or it caused the next cause that caused everything else. But what made it do that? What caused it to make something? Well, it can't be anything because it's impervious to any causes. And therefore, you have something without any attributes, beyond time, beyond space, or let's not say beyond, let's use a better word, not bound to time, not bound to space, with no actual attributes, that works on free will totally, because it acted, but it could not have acted because of something. So that acted on its free will totally. Now, this first cause can never change, because if it changes, then two things. That means it's subject to time, because change means before and after. And two, that means that it has some attributes, because if it changes, it also can't be more than one. Because in order to have quantity, in order to have more than one, there has to be some boundaries that say, and this is the boundary of one, and now from here, the next one is two. But if we're talking about something without boundaries, then it can only be one. There cannot be two. Not because there happens not to be two, because there can't. Also, this thing never could not have existed. When you say something, this shelf happens to exist, but in theory, it could have not existed. Whatever was its cause is why it exists as opposed to not existing. But this first cause could never have not existed. Since nothing caused it, it had to exist by its own, on its own merits, on its own nature, whatever you want to call it. It could never have not existed. It can only be one, and it works totally on free will without anything prompting it. So we have a name for that. We call that God. No Trinity, because that's a quantification already. Really, obviously, we can't imagine what this thing is. This first cause, we'll call it, or the necessary existence. We only know really what it can't be, what it's not. It's not physical. It's not subject to time. It's not subject to space. Nothing affects it, cannot change, doesn't age, nothing, and could never have not existed. Different type of existence then. You can't even compare it to our existence. Our existence means it exists. In theory, it exists. It happens to exist. Theoretically, it could have not existed. This could never have theoretically not existed. Now, why did it create everything? Well, one thing's for sure. There are only two things in existence, this first cause and the things it caused. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else. The reason it caused it could not have been for its own sake, because it can't gain, it cannot change, it cannot be quantified, so it makes no sense to have been created for a benefit. You can't benefit something that's totally simple without any quantifications. There's no place to put the benefit. A benefit isn't a concept that applies to this first cause. So the only other possibility, certainly the best philosophical explanation, is that created it for the benefit of the creations. Say create for no reason doesn't make too much sense. It wanted on its own will.
How could you possibly know what it wanted?
Because mathematically, when you say wanted, it means it wanted to create something. It wanted to create something.
Really?
It did.
What do you mean by want?
Because
why do you think that it has things like why do you think that the notion of want applies? Like, we don't even know what infinity is.
It has nothing to, I didn't say anything about infinity. Yeah. It's not a question of it's infinity.
This notion is so beyond our comprehension that to
no, but we know what it's not. It could not have. It could not have done it. The first cause. The first cause.
Things.
The first cause could not have it. One, it did create something, and two, it could not have created it for any other reason than total free will. It freely did it for no reason. I mean, nothing made it do it. Nothing motivated it to do it because it's impervious to motivations and it's impervious to force.
It has motivations?
It doesn't. I mean, one thing we know, certainly not in the sense that we have, because motivations means something acts upon me and triggers a desire for me to do something. But this thing, nothing can act upon it. When I say I'm motivated, it means I gain something. Even if I'm totally altruistic, I gain a feeling, or I gain, but nothing impacts it like that. This is a new type of altruism, if that you could use that word. That's it's beyond our imagination. But the fact is, the mathematical fact, that it did create something, not because it gained anything, not because it felt anything, not because it was motivated in any way whatsoever. And it didn't gain anything by it. The most logical reason is because by doing so, forget the word want if you don't like it. All words we use in regard to this first cause are only a manner of speaking, right?
Yeah.
We should be speaking in terms of what this first cause did not do. It was not made to do it. It was not forced. It was not motivated to do it. It did it. Can't get out of that. And it gains nothing by it. If there was a reason that it did it, and it did do it.
It did it. Yeah.
What?
No, I think if I try to dissect this, like you said the first thing you asked when I said, "Can you tell me how you know God wrote the Torah?" The first thing you said is, "Do you have all night?" And I don't.
Okay.
I appreciate this. I mean, because I want to get to the other stuff, and as you're saying this, I think I appreciate this explanation. I think my point of disagreement. I'm gonna
what
debate.
disagreement?
I'm
So
gonna,
far,
well, no, I'd have to
disagree so far.
Because my disagreement would be this, like, we're not gonna get to the bedrock of it. My disagreement would be like this philosophical thing of, well, how do we know that
don't use want. Don't use want. Don't use need. I didn't use any of those words. I didn't say any of those things.
No, but I disagree fundamentally that we can attribute motive, full stop.
That we can't attribute motive.
That we can attribute.
We can't. I didn't say we can.
No, you did. You said it's motivated.
No,
but
I didn't.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not
I
saying you're
did
wrong.
not say that. I said it was not motivated by anything.
You're saying it wanted.
I said if you don't like to use want, we won't use the word want. No, on the contrary, there are no human attributes.
The idea that God created people in order to benefit people.
By process of elimination, did God create people in order to benefit God? No.
I don't think the word benefit applies to God.
I agree.
I don't have a word that I can use.
I agree,
applies.
but God could not have changed, so it could not have been for any reason that involves God, because He doesn't change.
It could be a reason beyond our comprehension.
It doesn't. It can't, because
no?
this first cause cannot change. It's not subject to time or space. Without time, there's no change.
Okay.
Without attributes, there's no change. So if there's no change, that means the creation could not have affected this creator at all.
Yeah.
So the only thing it affected was the creations. It did not affect the creator at all. On the contrary, I'm not using the word want. I'm not using the word want. If I do, put it in quotation marks. Okay? On the contrary, I am eliminating any human attributes, any human at all and the only thing we can know about this is what it is not. I agree with you. It does not motivate. It does not want in the sense that we want. We want something because there's something called desire that we have. And if we get what we want, we accomplish something for us.
Yeah.
That doesn't apply to the first cause. It's impossible. That being the case, the only thing that could possibly have a purpose, the only thing that ends up with a purpose are the creations. There's no purpose that involves the first cause for making the other causes. The purpose has to lie in the creation. I use the word benefit of creations for that. You could say purpose if you want, but it doesn't make any sense to say that this first cause would make creations to harm them, because it doesn't make any sense why
None of it makes any sense.
No,
Why would
no.
I care if humans get benefited?
Hold
by
on, wait, hold on.
Harm them versus benefit them.
Wait, hold on. You're asking. None of it makes any sense.
I'm saying the idea that it wouldn't create it to harm them, but it would create it to benefit them. Why would it create it to benefit them and not to harm them?
Well, what purpose serves in harming?
What purpose serves in helping?
It serves the creations.
What is it? But what purpose does that serve the Creator?
It doesn't. The Creator did it purely altruistic reasons, obviously.
Why did he what? But they're suffering in the world. I mean, I'm just saying.
Whoa, hold on. No, you wait. So far,
Yeah.
but they're suffering in the world doesn't mean you disagree with the statement. You say you have a question
No, I just,
about it.
no, but he wants to create people for the benefit of creation.
No, let's be more precise. He did create a creation. He could not have created it for any purpose that involves the Creator. It makes no sense in terms of a purpose to create just to harm. Only sadists do that. It wouldn't make sense. Instead, the only sense that it makes is that there's some purpose. You can call it benefit. I'm not associating benefit with pleasure yet, but benefit, purpose. I'm using those two words the same. Okay? If you prefer purpose, we can use that. For the creation, there has to be a purpose for the sake of that involves the creation, a purpose that doesn't involve God. We can continue, but you're right. We will be here all night. And
I appreciate
trust me that
this.